Hello, happy Monday. It's Dr. Carin here. I hope you're doing well today. As you can see, we have a slightly different schedule right now. I'm going to start doing Facebook Lives starting this week, twice a week at 1 p.m. So Monday and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And then we're going to be doing our master classes twice a month on Saturdays still at 1 p.m. as well. So please make sure you're signed up to get notified when we're live so we don't miss any of our videos as we slightly adjust our schedule as we're starting to open up and starting to see our patients in person again. So that's our schedule update. Today, what we're going to be talking about is cooking with less stress. I know healthy cooking, consistently healthy cooking can be stressful, can be overwhelming. So I wanted to give you 3 ways to save time and energy when you're trying to cook healthy meals consistently. So let me ask you this first of all. Do you ever struggle with that transition from work to making dinner? So this is a time where you might be feeling mentally exhausted from work, and then now you're having to make more decisions about making dinner, like what to make for dinner, what's everybody gonna want to eat, what kind of ingredients do I have, how do I make it healthy, and how do I make it quickly? Because 9 times out of 10, when we're in that transition between work and dinner, we're running later than we want to be. So with less time, we're rushed, we're mentally tired from work, and then we're trying to figure out what to have for dinner. That could be a really stressful time of the day. And of course, we want to reduce that stress and make it easier for us so we can make good decisions about what to make for dinner, and of course, enjoy that time as well. So this of course, making meals is really central to our health, so we really want to make sure that we're putting lots of effort into that area. And if there's anything that we can do to reduce the friction, the time that it takes, the energy that it takes to do that, it can be really helpful to make a meal that we really want to eat and feel good about serving to our family. So what I want to share with you are 3 specific ways that we can save time and save our energy, mental and physical energy, when we're trying to make healthy meals. So if this is your first time seeing this video, this is actually part 3 of the series Optimized Meal Planning. There's part 1 and part 2 as well. So before I move on to the tips for today, I'll just quickly summarize part 1 and part 2. So in Optimized Meal Planning part 1, we talked all about prepping vegetables. This is a big topic and there's lots of options here, but if you're new to meal planning or prepping, I would absolutely recommend looking at that video to get some tips on vegetables. I know for me, vegetables are the part of the meal that takes me the longest time. It's also arguably the most important part of the meal. So that's an area that I highly recommend getting some tips on how you can save time on those veggies. So in part 1, we talked about prepping your vegetables just once for multiple meals. So that might be just on the weekend, washing, trimming, cutting them up, putting them into airtight containers so you can just grab them and cook, and being able to do that with multiple different vegetables so you can mix and match. So you can get more variety of color and nutrients into your food really easily. And then we also talked about using visual cues. Our environment matters much more than our motivation. So being able to use that power of these visual cues to remind us of what we should eat or what we want to eat can be helpful. So we can use, for example, the herbs, fresh herbs sitting on the counter like that to remind us to have those herbs. We also talked about visual cues in part 2 as well. So optimal meal planning part 2, we talked all about prepping meats and fish and carbs. and starches for our meal. So it was all about that. And we use that same concept of using visual cues for the proteins and carbs as well. So making sure that we make the healthy choice the most obvious choice. We talked about in grocery stores how they use this as eye level is buy level, but we can use that in a positive, beneficial way for us by putting the foods that we want to eat right in the center. I'm looking over here because that's where the fridge is for me, right in the center of our fridge. Or if you want to eat more fish, having the fish right in the center at eye level, or the easiest place to access in your freezer, for example. And then making it easy. So freezing, for example, fish in individual portions versus the whole fish or a whole fillet of fish. Actually freezing it in individual portions so that they're not all stuck together. That way you could just take out the amounts that you need, and also it thaws out so much quicker. So those kinds of things we talked about in part 2. And so those are part 1 and part 2. If you're looking for more tips, definitely something that you can look for in those 2 videos. So today I wanted to give you a few more specific tips on how you can save time when you're cooking. So the first one I wanted to give to you is writing down 3 to 5 possible weekday meals. So if on the weekends you're already in the habit of actually cooking, doing like a large batch of food and then having that throughout the week, that's brilliant. You're already coming up with what meals you're wanting to eat, of course. But another thing that you can do is if you don't want to actually cook for the whole week or even parts of the week, you can just come sit down and look at your inventory, what ingredients you have in your fridge, what you have in your pantry, and then just come up with some meals. So I've done that over here. I always have a notepad on my on the fridge. This one has a magnet, so I stick it on the fridge, and then I just jot down a few of meal ideas I know that I can do based on the ingredients I have. So it's really, really small, really quick little notes, but just enough so that I can remind myself, yes, I have the ingredients I need to make teriyaki chicken thighs, rice, and steamed vegetables, or halibut with green sauce marinade and sweet potatoes and a salad. Just enough to sort of give myself a little reminder of all the menu that we can have for that day, for that dinner. That way that you have it all on here, so that when you're rushing home from work, or even if you're working from home, you're mentally transitioning over to dinner. You don't have to figure out that first step. Well, what am I going to make for dinner? You could just look on your list that you already have thought about, you know you have the ingredients for, and you could just choose from there. Okay, I'll make that one. And it just makes it that much quicker. That first step is done, and you could just carry out that meal. This took me maybe less than 3 minutes to do. So you can do this, of course, anytime, any day of the week. But typically it's best when you're doing it on the weekend, maybe right after you've done some grocery shopping. All right. And then a couple modifications to this, of course. You can definitely assign, for example, that first teriyaki chicken thighs. Let's say I want to do it on Monday, so we can actually assign certain days for this. And that way it's already structured. You really don't have anything that you need to think about in terms of planning. That also is helpful for looking ahead to the next day. If you need to thaw out some meat, you can just bring out, I've got halibut for tomorrow, so I can I can see that, so I can pull the halibut out of the freezer and put it into the fridge so that I can start that thawing process. So you can build on this a little bit more to save even more time. Is there anybody that's already doing this right now? I'd love to know, and I'd love to know how it's working for you, or if there's other modifications that you've done. Okay, my second quick and easy tip here is to make a fresh sauce on the weekends. Of course, it doesn't have to be on the weekend. I keep saying weekends, but when you have a little bit more time and you're a little bit more relaxed, that's when I would make some sauce. And when I say fresh sauce, of course, we've got condiments and things like that we can certainly use throughout the week too. But fresh sauce is using fresh vegetables. So I just did one here yesterday. That's a green sauce. This one is based on a chimichurri recipe. You know, if you can see the color on that, it's really bright green color. The bulk of it is a cilantro and parsley. So there's lots, actually almost a bunch each of the cilantro and parsley, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, chili peppers, so lots of these delicious things all together, and it's super fresh. There's actually a ton of vegetables in here. The recipe that I made actually made about a cup and a half or 2 cups, about double this amount. And this does last for 5 days. So you can make it on the weekend and then just have a couple spoonfuls, for example, like this, on top of fish or on top of meat. And not only does it give that flavor, but also you get a good dose of green vegetables, fresh green vegetables. So I find that I can get a lot more, for example, parsley into my diet this way than sprinkling it on top of with those fresh herbs back there, which I do both of them, but this is just a lot more concentrated. And the kids enjoy it a lot more when there's this flavor onto it as well. And you can make it almost like a hot sauce. Look out for this recipe on our website, yourbriohealth.com. I'll try to put the whole recipe for this particular one up there. But you have lots of options with green sauces. There's one from the cookbook Practical Paleo, I think it's called. And there's I think it was called Magic Green Sauce recipe in there that has poblano peppers and jalapeno peppers, as well as chives and cilantro, just like this one, and lemon juice. So that one is a little bit spicier. It tastes so good. It's really, really good with pretty much everything, any meats and any starches, really. So a nice way to quickly get a bunch of greens in, fresh green, raw, fresh greens into your diet. And that's really tasty. And then you can use that throughout the whole week. And you could just put it on the table when you're about to eat, so everybody can just serve themselves as well. So a nice, quick, simple way of getting some fresh greens in. Tahini dressing is one that I've talked about before as well, that you can make with tahini, which is sesame seed paste. You can make a creamy dressing that you can toss vegetables in or use it as a salad dressing. So that's another one that I'll try to get that recipe on our website as well. You can also do fresh salad dressings using flax oil. So these are all just ideas that you can just choose one to start and do that on the weekend. So you've got this fresh sauce that you can use throughout the week. And I love the idea of using a green sauce for this just because you get so much of the vegetables in there in a really tasty way. Okay, third one, prepping kitchen staples. So this is really taking note of what kinds of ingredients you tend to use most of the time in your cooking. So do you use onions pretty much every day? I use garlic pretty much every day. So knowing what those staples are, you may want to prep them on the weekends or at individual times throughout the week so that you don't have to prep them every single meal. So for example, I've got onion and garlic in here, and you can see that they're already peeled, and the onion is already cut in half. You can definitely chop it up if you want. I find that kind of loses a little bit of the onion pungency. So I just trim it so it's really simple to cut. And the garlic, I know when I'm rushed, that's when I can't get the peel off the garlic, and I get so frustrated with that. So I like to just peel a few garlic cloves ahead of time, especially when this time I got tiny, tiny little garlic cloves. So I wanted to just peel them all beforehand and have them ready so that when I'm about to cook, I just get to skip that step and it's already a shortcut to being able to prepare those. Another one that I use, another food, is ginger. And I want to use more of it. So one way to help me to do that is I just peel them. This is frozen now. I don't know if you can see that, but I just peel the ginger when it's fresh, and then I cut them into little, like little coins, little discs, so that they're thin enough that when I want to use it, I can use it actually frozen. If I want to cut it up into little slivers, even when it's frozen, it's thin, so I can cut it up really easily. That way I don't have to start peeling them, peeling the ginger and all of that every single time. I've got it ready to go. And keeping them frozen like this, it does retain a strong flavor. So that's a super convenient way to just have some ginger around. And you can cut it in whichever way is most convenient for you. Maybe that's grating it and keeping it there. All right, another staple for me is lemon juice. I use a lot of lemon juice. I often will buy a whole bag of organic lemons, especially if they're on sale. And sometimes I have a hard time getting through all of them. So I often will juice the lemon, a whole bunch of the lemons, and then freeze them in ice cube trays. So right now I only have ice cube trays, these big ones, kind of like for whiskey ice cubes. So I've ended up with fairly large lemon juice cubes. So when I juice them, I measured out 2 tablespoons, because that's typically what I use at one time, and I put it into the ice cube tray and let it freeze, and then I pop them out and put them into this freezer bag, and then I just take 1 cube out when I need to use it. And when it's this small, thawing it out is really, really simple and easy. So that's another thing you can use for lime juice or lemon juice, is just to freeze them, especially when the lemons are starting to go bad or you need to quickly use them. That's a good way to just get through all of the lemon juice and keep it nice and potent. I find that this lemon juice, even after it's been frozen for weeks, is still very strong flavored, much stronger than if you buy the lemon juice in the little plastic containers. So it still retains that flavor really well that way. All right, and the last one I've got here, and another example of how you can prep ahead of time, is sweet potatoes cooked. So you can, these ones here I've actually steamed the sweet potatoes, and then I cut them up, and then I froze them so that they're all separated, and then I stuck them into a little bag. So sweet potatoes cooked. I use these for my smoothie in the morning, just a few blocks, but they're also super handy because they're already cooked. So if I wanted to do roasting or sauteing some sweet potatoes, and just throw them in, and it only takes a few minutes. So I find that super, super helpful, really quick way to get some starches into a meal without having to boil the water and boil the potatoes or steam, which can take a long time with some starches. So that's a nice way to keep them already ready to go, mostly cooked already, and super convenient to use. All right, if you're already doing some prepping of kitchen staples like this, let me know, leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear about what kinds of foods you're prepping and how you're doing that. I would love to hear, and then share those ideas with other people as well. Now, the very first step here, let me back up. So let me just summarize. We were talking about basically 3 different things that you can do. One is to just sit down and for a few minutes and actually write down which meals you can have based on the ingredients that you have. So you have it all written down, and then you can just refer to it when you're just off of work and you're trying to figure out what to have for dinner. You've got a few options already ready to go. Second, prep a fresh sauce. Green sauce is probably my favorite in terms of getting lots of flavor and nutrients in there. That can last for at least 3 days, if not 5 days throughout the week. And then you can easily put that into your meals that you're already having as an extra vegetable and extra flavoring. Definitely a boost of flavor and nutrition that way. And the last one is looking at what your kitchen staples are and preparing them, reducing the number of steps that you need to take during the weekday by prepping them ahead of time. So that could be peeling the ginger and freezing it. That could be peeling the garlic or onions. For you, that might actually be cutting up some of the onions. That might be freezing lemon juice or lime juice so that you can just take one serving portion when you're cooking and it's ready to go. So the first step in all of this is, of course, to set aside some time, not during your busy work week, probably on the weekend, to actually do some preparation. And I would set aside maybe about an hour on one of the weekend days to prep and make it an activity. Either if you're going to do this by yourself, maybe listen to a podcast or listen to some music. If you're doing this with your partner or your rest of your family, put on some music and make it a fun, relaxing activity. This is much easier and more fun to help teach the kids how to work in the kitchen and involve the kids when we're relaxed and we have more mental energy, physical energy, versus trying to do that during the week when we're just trying to get the dinner finished and done. So make it an activity on the weekend. And I generally do this after grocery shopping when we've brought all the food in, and as we're packing it away to the fridge or to the freezer, that's when I will be making green sauce or prepping the pieces of meat to freeze, cutting up the vegetables, that kind of thing. So choose one or two things here that you've learned, or go and look at the part 1 or part 2. You can watch them with your family and choose one or two different tips that you can incorporate into your meal prep this weekend and try it out. And you'll be so happy during the week when you are using one of these that you'll be relieved that you already have that done. So I hope that that's helpful to you. If you found this video helpful, please share this video with your friends and your family. And just remember, with healthy cooking and healthy living and healthy eating, it's not about perfection. With every meal, every week, it's just practice towards mastery. So let me know how you do this weekend. Let me know what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and what you're going to try next weekend. I would love to hear what suggestions you have for meal prepping as well. Thank you so much for watching today, and have a fantastic day. All right, see you. Bye.